Hi everyone. This video is a book review about a book that I have had for several years. And the title of this book is The Prayer of Jabez, Breaking Through to the Blessed Life. And it was written by Bruce Wilkinson. It is part of the Breakthrough series and was a #1 New York Times bestseller, published in the year 2000. So before I get started on my review, there were two things that I wanted to tell you. The first thing, if you hear any screaming in the background, those are just the roosters out in the neighborhood screaming at each other. So if you hear chickens clucking, roosters screaming, it's all okay, and I sincerely apologize for the excess noise. The second thing I wanted to tell you was how I came across this book. As I mentioned before, I've had this book for several years, but this was the first time that I've read it, which was this month. I actually had been given 4 copies from 4 different people, this book, The Prayer of Jabez. And the fourth person that gave me this book was my friend's mother. And that was when I officially decided that one day I would read it. I had a friend who I was with him in elementary and middle school because we all grew up together in a church school. And this friend's parents were missionaries. His mother was from a certain country, and every year they would go do mission work in the country. So one year, it was either 2011, 2012, we were in our early 20s, my friend fell to his death from a balcony. So I decided to make a painting of him and give it to his parents. And as a result of giving them that gift, she gave me the book, The Prayer of Jabez. And that is why I still have this book right now. Whenever I feel like I'm going through some type of crisis, or I'm feeling overwhelmed, or I'm just going through a just very strange time, I gravitate towards extremely religious books, even though I'm not extremely religious. I feel it is my coping mechanism because I grew up in an extremely religious school, and it just kind of reminds me of my childhood. So some people, they feel it's overbearing, but me, it's just like, oh, there's structure somewhere in my life. And that is why I picked up this book, just to cope with the transition that I am going through right now. So before I get started on the review, let me tell you a little bit about the author. Now, this book, as I said, was published in the year 2000. I do not know if the author is still alive or not. I have not researched his background, and so this is most likely an old biography. It says Dr. Bruce H. Wilkinson is the founder and president of Walk Through the Bible Ministries, an international organization dedicated to providing the finest biblical teaching, tools, and training. He is the author of Experiencing Spiritual Breakthroughs, 30 Days to Experiencing Spiritual Breakthroughs, and numerous other books. Bruce and his wife Darlene live in Atlanta, Georgia, and have 3 children. So this is an old photograph of him. I do know that he has written a lot of other books because, working in a library, you come across the same authors a lot. Going to different bookstores, you see them. This is one of those popular authors. Now, I may not like the content, but there are some people who I like as writers. Like T.D. Jakes, I really don't care for his content, but I think he's a good writer. How Dr. Wilkinson laid out this book is he breaks down the prayer of Jabez and goes, each chapter is a piece of the prayer, and he interweaves his own philosophy in there as well as experiences that he has had with his ministry using this prayer and other things. As far as the word or the name Jabez, I looked up how to pronounce it, and I don't know if it is pronounced Jabez or Jabez. I'm going to go with Jabez. I wouldn't even say J. I would say like Yah. because I've never come across like a lot of J's in Hebrew. So I'll just call it Jabez. Now, what is the prayer of Jabez? I'm going to read it to you. It is a brief prayer that pops up in the book of First Chronicles. And it goes like this. And Jabez called on the God of Israel, saying, Oh, that you would bless me indeed, and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. So God granted him what he requested. First Chronicles 4:10, New King James Version. Now, why is this so powerful? You know when you're reading, if you read the Bible, or if you're familiar with the Bible, there's parts of the Bible where it just goes through endless genealogy. It's like so and so begat so and so, and so begat so and so, and so begat so and so. So just imagine just a line of that. And then all of a sudden, one person stands out. They tell a little story, and then they go back to the genealogy. That is what happened with the prayer of Jabez. He was just part of a whole genealogy thing. It's like descendants of Judah, Perez, Hezron, Carmi, Hur, Shobal, Ahumai, Ishma, Idbash. Then there's a sudden break in the story. And it says, Now Jabez was more honorable than his brothers, and his mother called his name Jabez, saying, Because I bore him in pain. So I believe, from my recollection, that the name Jabez means pain. Now, if you are familiar with the Bible or any other different culture, you know that names hold very significant meanings. If you have the wrong name, it can ruin your life. Sometimes people's names would be changed based off of like something that they've done. Like if they became a hero, their name might change to something. In the Bible, God changed names, Sarah or Sarai to Sarah, Abram to Abraham. Um, a name can be a stain on you, like Moab, I think the Moabites. And Moab translates, I believe, as from daddy. And Moab was the son of one of Lot's wives who got pregnant by their daddy after their husbands were killed in Sodom and Gomorrah. So, if Jabez means pain, the prayer of Jabez makes sense when he says that do all of these things for me that I may not cause pain. If his mother says you are pain, just imagine this man going throughout his life being like, you cause pain, you cause pain, you cause pain, and self-sabotaging himself. So probably by the time of this prayer, he had self-sabotaged himself so much, or society had treated him so terribly that he was just begging God to have a better life for himself. However, because he had this name, he lived an honorable life. Maybe the name put him on a straight path. They're like, you're pain, so I'm going to be the most righteous man in this room. It says, you can search from front to back of the Bible as I have, and you won't find any more information than we have in these two brief verses. 1, things started badly for a person no one had ever heard of. 2, he prayed an unusual one-sentence prayer. 3, things ended extraordinarily well. So Dr. Wilkinson goes throughout this book basically saying that you have to live big. You have to expand your mind of the blessings and goodness of God. The universe is an abundant place. If I got one apple and took multiple seeds, I'd get multiple apple trees from one apple, just taking its seeds. This earth is meant to expand and grow and progress. And the reason that some of us don't get the things that we want and desire is because we're either not asking for it or we're asking for the bare minimum. That's what really stood out to me in this book. Chapter 2 is called, So Why Not Ask? Oh, that you would bless me indeed. So why not ask? says you're at a spiritual retreat in the mountains with others who want to experience a fuller Christian life, or just a retreat somewhere. So one day you're walking past a room and your mentor is praying. And you're thinking, how exactly does a giant of faith begin his prayers, you wonder? You pause and lean close. Will he pray for revival? Pray for the hungry around the world? Pray for you? But this is what you hear. Oh Lord, I beg you first and most this morning, please bless me. Personally, in my experience, even though I have not been on this earth this long, I've only been on this earth 31 years. But from my personal experience, whenever I focus on, I guess, making myself abundant, whenever I focus on taking care of myself in every aspect of my life, I was more able to help other people. How can you, if you are, I guess, a Christian or something watching this, let's say you're a Christian pastor or youth minister, even though I'm not really a Christian, but let's say if you are, what if you're trying to expand your ministry? If you just do it on your own willpower, you're going to burn out. If you're focusing on your congregation and their issues, you are going to burn out. The first thing that you got to do is to take care of yourself. You have to clear your mind so that you will be able to be God-inspired and make, I guess, wise decisions to lead your congregation into the place that they are destined to be going. The best example, if you want to lead somebody to a place that you believe is a good place, the best example that you can use is your own lifestyle. I had a boss who, ironically, I found out just blocked me, like, really? And his secretary blocked me. But that's a whole nother story. I had a boss who was very, very religious, very popular person. On the surface, everybody loved him. Everybody respected him. He had his money going. He had his nice suits. He was on the lecture circuit. He was selling all his products. But what was happening behind closed doors? His entire marriage was falling apart. He was flirting with other women, particularly me. He was, I wouldn't say scamming people, but he was kind of being dishonest with some of the things that he was doing and trying to cover his own tracks. So me, from watching him, I didn't respect him because I felt everything was a facade. So if you are trying to live a genuine life, facades don't last for long. If you're doing something in a way that is not God-inspired, usually, or righteously inspired, it's going to slip through your hands and fall apart. So even if you make it to the top, it could all come crashing down in one way, shape, or form. You might not lose it financially, you might lose your reputation. That's why when you focus on being a righteous person, the blessings will come to you naturally because people gravitate towards you, and it'll be easier to be blessed because you're not going to have a heart that's weighted down. Like the principle of Ma'at, your heart has to be as light as a feather. The next prayer, or the next chapter. Living large for God. Oh, that you would enlarge my territory. It says, in Jabez's time, part of Israel's recent national history was Joshua's conquest of Canaan and the partitioning of the promised land into chunks of real estate for each cry. When Jabez cried out to God, enlarge my territory, he was looking at his present circumstances and concluding, surely I was born for more than this. As a farmer or herdsman, he had looked over the spread his family had passed down to him, ran his eye down the fence lines, visited the boundary markers, calculated the potential, and made a decision. Everything you've put under my care, O Lord, take it and enlarge it. So, in Jabez's case, as the author said, his territory was actual territory, like physical land. I want more cows, God. I want more land. I want more trees. I want more grapes for my vineyard. I want more figs on my fig tree. And you might be a person that is into real estate or something like that. And so his prayer you could relate to. But some of us don't have land. I came here to Hawaii to get land. And if I don't get it, I'm still going to enlarge my territory. Your territory might be the emotional expansion of your heart. It might be emotional, it might not be physical. Your territory might be like, I want to expand the way and how I love people. I want to expand my compassion. If you're a person who owns a business, you might want to expand your business. You might want to have a variety of products and watch your business grow. You might be the head over a college and you want more students for your college. In Bruce Wilkinson's case, his territory was his ministry. He wanted to grow his ministry. His end goal was to have as many biblically oriented teachers for every 1,000 people in the world, basically. And what does that require? You got to travel, you got to do missions work, you have to create materials. That's why he has so many books. You have to go every type of marketing tactic that you can use to bring more people to you to enlarge your territory. He was doing that. He was trying to think outside of the box. So if you are a person that wants to enlarge your territory, you have to stop thinking small. You have to rely on God or whatever you believe in. Honestly, there are so many times I could have been out on the street. I could have been out on the street. I'm not even lying. All I had left was prayer. Literally, I cannot tell you how many times prayer has saved my little self. And after a while, I stopped becoming worried about things. I'm like, I know God's not going to let me on the street. I know God's not going to let me not have any money coming in. I know God is not going to let me get jacked up. And the more you rely on God or whatever, the more you will be okay. It's called surrender. Right now, I'm in surrender mode. I'm like, okay, I'm used to living alone. I'm not used to living with people. I'm in a place with no family. I'm like thinking to myself, I literally gave up everything to come here to this place. I can't go back, even though every day I think about going back, but I can't go back because then I'd have to live with another person. I figure that this situation is a divine plan to actually get me back in college, which I've been talking about going back to school anyway. It's like get a dormitory or whatever. Sometimes we're placed in situations in order to enlarge our territory. Sometimes we're placed in situations where we're just like, I'm never going back there again. Never. Ever. You hear me? Never. So don't be afraid when the time comes. Because when that time comes, you will be shaken up. And you will become stronger. And you'll start noticing that the power in your voice increases. The fourth chapter is the touch of greatness. Oh, that your hand would be with me. I like this part of the prayer because a lot of people cannot handle it by themselves. They really can't. I know a lot of people talk trash about religion, even though I told you I'm not very religious. But there is a psalm, Psalm 19, and it says, one part of it is, the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is pure, making wise the simple. The part about making wise the simple Some people, they can't naturally go on to a path of righteousness or good doing or will or wisdom. So they need some type of template to guide them to that path. Some people have so much power that if they did not have a righteous path, they would just be very, very horrible people. You know, like they might be they might have a bunch of money and just traffic people. They might have a bunch of properties and just hoard it so nobody can live in it. Just very petty things that people do if they're not on righteous paths. That's why you read those fairy tales and stories and religious books of like terrible kings, and the people hated him or her, and they were just so evil, and they executed all of these people because they got drunk with power. When you get your territory enlarged, when you get blessed with abundance, you cannot let it get to your head, because it can all be taken away. It was given to you and it can be taken away. Now, if you want it to expand, you will expand your heart. It says, having dared to ask for an enlarged ministry, more than a few Christians have faltered at this point in their spiritual transformation. They've received blessings on a scale they hadn't imagined possible. They've seen God stretch the limits of their influence and opportunities. But suddenly, the rush of wind under their wings stops. Helpless, they start to plummet. Hold on one moment. They start to plummet. That's because they are all doing it in their own willpower. Maybe the new ministry opportunities you prayed for and received are turning out to require a person with much more ability than you will ever have. That makes sense. When you get this amount of blessings coming to you, you need to think with the mind of God. Like, you have to figure out how to manage all of this stuff. Like, even how the universe is created. Everything in this universe has some type of job. Everything. So yeah, hold on. The birds have a job. The bees have a job. Let us go on to the next to last chapter. Not, oh, that you would keep me from evil. So God granted him what he requested. I challenge you to make the Jabez prayer for blessing part of the daily fabric of your life. To do that, I encourage you to follow unwaveringly the plan outlined here for the next 30 days. By the end of that time, you'll be noticing significant changes in your life, and the prayer will be on its way to becoming a treasured lifelong habit. So he basically says, pray the prayer in the morning, write it down, tell somebody else to commit to it. It says, making Jabez mine. At first, when I started asking for God for things, I'd be like, hey, God, please, can you please help? Please? I was doing it so timidly, but, after a while, when I was in some really crazy stuff, I found out that the fastest way I got my prayers answered was through yelling. I would be so mad, I would stand in place and I would just yell. I'd be like, I can't take this anymore. Da, 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 da. I want this and I want that, and I will not move until I have it now. I know that's kind of crazy, isn't it? That sounds kind of belligerent, doesn't it? But I meant it with all of my heart. When you pray, you have to mean it with all of your heart, and you won't back down. Don't back down. Be like, what was his name? I think it was Jacob, where he's wrestling with the angel. I think if you really want it, you're really gonna get it. And you're not gonna stop asking for it, because the persistence is like, okay, they're being very, very persistent with what it is, and I'm gonna give it to them. Sometimes it might be bad for you, but like, you keep asking, okay, I might change my mind. But that's what I'm doing. I'm like, I don't care what circumstances are in my way. I don't care what anything looks like, because everything is susceptible to change. It can be here one day and gone the next. An obstacle can be here right now and gone in the next 30 minutes. That's how you have to think with everything that you want when you pray. So before I end this video, I'm going to tell you how I pray, like whenever I'm praying, and then I'll read the Jabez prayer to you. So when I'm praying, I don't pray every day, but it's usually when something's crazy going on. I stand there and I say, look, this is how it's going to be. Blah, 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 blah. I want this and that, and I will not take anything less than blah, 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 whatever. Like yada, 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 whatever it is. For example, okay, I'll have to use an example. Getting my third apartment. I said, look, I'm not about to be homeless on the streets. I am going to get an apartment. I know I don't have the money right now, but I don't care. I'm going to move into this apartment by such and such a date. I'm going to have a smooth transition into this place, and I will not have any issues anymore after this, as in regards of moving into it. I moved into my third apartment by the deadline that I had set. I didn't even have to pay a deposit. I only paid the first month of rent, and it had everything I wanted in my apartment. It was wooden floors, it was stained glass windows, it was on the second floor. It was perfect. And even though I had no idea if I was going to get this place, when I imagined my prayer, I just imagined dominoes. It's like domino hit this domino hit that domino until it's all falling. I might not see the works in effect as I'm praying, but I know something is happening because I put it out there. So something is happening because I put it out there. And then I stopped worrying about it. And boom, got my third apartment and stayed there for a little over a year. And now here I am in Hawaii. So today, right now, is the end of the month, November 30th. So if you'd like to do a 30 days prayer of Jabez, that'd be kind of cool. December 1st is tomorrow. The Jabez prayer. So this is all you have to say. Oh, that you would bless me indeed and enlarge my territory, that your hand would be with me, and that you would keep me from evil, that I may not cause pain. And that's all you got to say. And wait for your prayer to be answered. So thank you everyone for watching this video. I will be back soon with another book review. I'm currently reading about 2 books at the same time, and I'm sure you will like them as well. Talk to you later, everyone. Bye-bye.